Hello everyone, welcome back to your channel, The Ultimate Audiobook. Today we will start the session with Writing and City Life. Theme 2. Today we will cover Mesopotamia and its geography. The name Mesopotamia is derived from the Greek words mesos, meaning middle, and potamus, meaning river. City life began in Mesopotamia, the land between the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers that is now part of the Republic of Iraq. Mesopotamian civilization is known for its prosperity, city life, its voluminous and rich literature, and its mathematics and astronomy. Mesopotamia's writing system and literature spread to the eastern Mediterranean, northern Syria, and Turkey after 2000 BC, so that the kingdoms of that entire region were writing to one another and to the Pharaoh of Egypt in the language and script of Mesopotamia. Here we shall explore the connection between city life and writing, and then look at some outcomes of a sustained tradition of writing. In the beginning of recorded history, the land, mainly the urbanized south, was called Sumer and Akkad. After 2000 BC, when Babylon became an important city, the term Babylonia was used for the southern region. From about 1100 BCE, when the Assyrians established their kingdom in the north, the region became known as Assyria. The first known language of the land was Sumerian. It was gradually replaced by Akkadian around 2400 BC, when Akkadian speakers arrived. This language flourished till about Alexander's time, that is 336 to 323 BC, with some regional changes occurring. From 1400 BCE, Aramaic also trickled in. This language, similar to Hebrew, became widely spoken after 1000 BC. It is still spoken in parts of Iraq. Archaeology in Mesopotamia began in the 1840s. At one or two sites, including Uruk and Mari, excavations continued for decades. Not only can we study hundreds of Mesopotamian buildings, statues, ornaments, graves, tools, and seals as sources, there are thousands of written documents. Mesopotamia was important to Europeans because of references to it in the Old Testament, the first part of the Bible. For instance, the book of Genesis of the Old Testament refers to Shimmer, meaning Sumer, as a land of brick built cities. Travelers and scholars of Europe looked on Mesopotamia as a kind of ancestral land, and when archaeological work began in the area, there was an attempt to prove the literal truth of the Old Testament. From the mid 19th century, there was no stopping the enthusiasm for exploring the ancient past of Mesopotamia. In 1873, a British newspaper funded an expedition of the British Museum to search for a tablet narrating the story of the flood mentioned in the Bible. According to the Bible, the flood was meant to destroy all life on earth. However, God chose a man, Noah, to ensure that life could continue after the flood. Noah built a huge boat, an ark. He took a pair each of all known species of animals and birds on board the ark, which survived the flood. There was a strikingly similar story in the Mesopotamian tradition, where the principal character was called Jistra or Utnapishtim. By the 1960s, it was understood that the stories of the Old Testament were not literally true, but may have been ways of expressing memories about important changes in history. Gradually, archaeological techniques became far more sophisticated and refined. Mesopotamia and its geography. Iraq is a land of diverse environments. In the northeast lie green, undulating plains, gradually rising to tree covered mountain ranges with clear streams and wildflowers with enough rainfall to grow crops. Here, agriculture began between 7000 and 6000 BC. In the north, there is a stretch of upland called a steppe, where animal herding offers people a better livelihood than agriculture. After the winter rains, sheep and goats feed on the grasses and low shrubs that grow here. To the east, tributaries of the Tigris provide routes of communication into the mountains of Iran. The south is a desert, and this is where the first cities and writing emerged. This desert could support cities because the rivers Euphrates and Tigris, which rise in the northern mountains, carry loads of silt, that is fine mud. When they flood or when their water is let out onto the fields, fertile silt is deposited. After the Euphrates has entered the desert, its water flows into small channels. These channels flood their banks and in the past functioned as irrigation canals. Water would be let into the fields of wheat, barley, peas, or lentils when necessary. Of all ancient systems, that of the Roman Empire included, it was agriculture of southern Mesopotamia that was the most productive, even though the region did not have sufficient rainfall to grow crops. Not only agriculture, Mesopotamian sheep and goats that grazed on the steppe, the northeastern plains, and the mountain slopes, that is, on tracts too high for the rivers to flood and fertilize, produced meat, milk, and wool in abundance. Further, fish was available in rivers and date palms gave fruit in summer. Let us not, however, make the mistake of thinking that cities grew simply because of rural prosperity. We shall discuss other factors by and by. But first, let us be clear about city life. The significance of urbanism. Cities and towns are not just places with large populations. It is when an economy develops in spheres other than food production that it becomes an advantage for people to cluster in towns. Urban economies comprise, besides food production, trade manufactures, and services. City people thus cease to be self sufficient and depend on the products or services of other city or village people. There is continuous interaction among them. For instance, the carver of a stone seal requires bronze tools that he himself cannot make, and colored stones for the seals that he does not know where to get. His specialization is fine carving, not trading. The bronze tool maker does not himself go out to get the metals, copper, and tin. Besides, he needs regular supplies of charcoal for fuel. The division of labor is a mark of urban life. The earliest cities in Mesopotamia date back to the Bronze Age, that is 3000 BC. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. Using bronze meant procuring these metals, often from great distances. Metal tools were necessary for accurate carpentry, drilling bits, carving stone seals, cutting shell for inlaid furniture, etc. Mesopotamian weapons were also of bronze, for example, the tips of the spears. Further, there must be a social organization in place. Fuel, metal, various stones, wood, etc. come from many different places for city manufacturers. Thus, organized trade and storage is needed. There are deliveries of grain and other food items from the village to the city, and food supplies need to be stored and distributed. Besides, many different activities have to be coordinated. There must be not only stones but also bronze tools and pots available for seal cutters. Obviously, in such a system, such people give commands that others obey, and urban economies often require the keeping of written records. The worker head. This woman's head was sculpted in white marble at Uruk before 3000 BC. The eyes and eyebrows would probably have taken lapis lazuli blue and shale white and bitumen black inlays respectively. There is a groove along the top of the head, perhaps for an ornament. This is a world famous piece of sculpture admired for the delicate modeling of the woman's mouth, chin, and cheeks. And it was modeled in a hard stone that would have been imported from a distance. Movement of goods into cities. However, is the food resources of Mesopotamia, its mineral resources were few. Most parts of the south lacked stones for tools, seals, and jewels. The wood of the Iraqi date palm and poplar was not good enough for carts, cart wheels, or boats. There was no metal for tools, vessels, or ornaments. So we can surmise that the ancient Mesopotamians could have traded their abundant textiles and agricultural produce for wood, copper, tin, silver, gold, shell, and various stones from Turkey and Iran, or across the Gulf. These later regions had mineral resources but much less scope for agriculture. Regular exchanges possible only when there was a social organization to equip foreign expeditions, and direct the exchanges were initiated by the people of southern Mesopotamia. Besides crafts, trade, and services, efficient transport is also important for urban development. If it takes too much time or too much animal feed to carry grain or charcoal into cities on pack animals or bullock carts, the city economy will not be viable. The cheapest mode of transportation is everywhere over water. River boats or barges loaded with sacks of grain are propelled by the current of the river and or wind. But when animals transport goods, they need to be fed. The canals and natural channels of ancient Mesopotamia were in fact routes of goods transport between large and small settlements, and in the account on the city of Mari later in the chapter, the importance of the Euphrates as a world route will become clear. So we have come to an end of the session. I hope this audiobook will definitely help you. If you like the audiobook, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Ultimate Audiobook. I will meet you with a new chapter. Till then, take care and bye bye everyone.